Hey everyone, welcome to Review Africa with Justine, a show where we look back at the interaction of the African continent, its people, the Western world through the lens of a certified African resident, continually learning that colonialism is now our horrible relative who will never leave. On this episode, we'll be focusing on the assassinations of African presidents by the West. You will think African presidents are powerful and well protected, but JFKs are scattered all over this continent. You guys remember France's prowess in this department? Some African leaders boldly stood up against the unending imperialist tendencies of France, but their resistance was generally met with a stronger contestant: death. France takes its job of wielding power unnecessarily and putting the fear of the West in African countries very seriously. I'm taking a chance with my own life doing this piece, so if anything happens to me, remember me as a comedian. That is my legacy. Unfortunately, France has assassinated or helped in assassinating a total of 22 presidents since 1963. Here are their names. You all know we can't talk about the West without Uncle Sam of the red, blue, and white. The American CIA has also dipped its feet in presidential takeouts. How dare you, America? You really have no willpower against minding other people's business, right? Specifically in how the CIA played a role in Congo's first elected Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba's assassination. In 1958, a year after Ghana got independence, the country hosted a conference of African leaders, the first such gathering of its kind and a rare sighting of African leaders you could call visionaries. At the invitation of Ghana's newly elected Prime Minister Kwame Nkrumah, seen here brandishing his great mind and double forehead, more than 300 leaders from 28 territories across Africa attended. One of the attendees was Patrice Lumumba of the still Belgian Congo and Frantz Fanon, who was still living in still French Algeria. It was a time of unlimited potential for a group of people determined to chart a new course for their homelands. And partying, of course. I hope some of those leaders twerked and danced because life was going to come at them sideways like those logging trucks in Final Destination. While they were happy about what the future held, Prime Minister Kwame, the host, wanted his guests not to forget the dangers that lay ahead. Because where there was once a colonizer, there's always a colonizer looking to fill the gap. In 1960, the Congo gained independence. They were finally free from colonial shackles. For like 2 seconds. Due to Congo's size, position near South Africa's bastions of white rule and reserves of high-quality uranium at the Shikolobwe mine in Katanga province, the country soon became a target. The Congo was so naturally resource-wealthy that the danger sent itself a personal invite. The CIA conducted a series of fast-paced covert action operations in DRC. The operations were meant to kill two birds with one neocolonial stone by stabilizing the government and minimizing communist influence in the country. They also launched a massive PR campaign to denounce Lumumba and promote Mobutu. They were like, "Hey yo, check out my boy Mobutu, lovable guy, drip from here to Kinshasa. He could pass for Prince of Zamunda. He loves music and can do that wine your waist thing. You know the deal, he's the best guy for the job." Nkrumah possessed an acute understanding of the threat in his "that's so Raven" moment because only months after his speech, Lumumba was assassinated by a Belgian and Congolese firing squad. Pausing here to say that Africans are always fighting back. Their work may not make the sexy soldier patriotic kind of a heart movie, but they're always fighting. Most of the times it ends like this. This assassination happened on 17th January 1961, and it was led by Congolese troops in the mineral-rich province of Katanga, ruled by Moise Tshombe. Franz, or whatever his name is, the Belgian police commissioner, was probably the last Westerner to see Lumumba alive. His death opened the Pandora's box to decades of pro-Western tyranny in the country. Lumumba's assassination is remembered today as the Challenger Deep. I'm using a geographical reference because it's the only way to capture the low point of the early years of African independence. According to British scholar Susan Williams' book, White Malice, The CIA and the Recolonization of Africa, the CIA was one of the chief architects of the plot as per orders from President Eisenhower. Other contributors to Patrice Lumumba's death were also the MI6. Congo's first elected prime minister was Patrice Lumumba, who was immediately faced with a breakdown of order. Which country leader hasn't? That's why they invented the first 100 days so that it feels like they know what they're doing. When Patrice came to power, there was an army revolt while secessionist groups from mineral-rich province of Katanga took over. This was bound to happen because every treasure island does have a couple of pirates. Due to this, Belgian paratroopers made their way back to get a piece of the action under the guise of restoring security. The itch to be a white savior surpasses all human understanding. Stressed out by this ongoing turmoil, Lumumba made a fateful step. He turned to the Soviet Union for help. You don't ask the Russians for help, they are the white enemy of the great white beyond. This set off panic in London and Washington, who feared the Soviets would get a foothold in Africa, much as they had done in Cuba. They were probably like, they can't have what we have, those Africans are ours, to assist on whatever we want. In the White House, President Eisenhower held a National Security Council meeting in the summer of 1960, in which at one point he turned to the CIA director and used the words eliminated in terms of what he wanted to do with Lumumba. Oh, Eisenhower, for someone who died with congestive heart failure, his heart was always in the wrong place. Following these orders, the CIA got to work. They came up with a series of plans, including snipers and poison toothpaste, to get rid of the Congolese leader. Snipers, I get. Badass, very cinematic. But poison toothpaste, this is horrible. Maybe that's why 1 out of every dentist doesn't recommend one brand. Although they had all these plans, they were not carried out because CIA man on the ground Larry Devlin said he was reluctant to see them through. Sometimes you just need to ignore your boss in a bid to save a life. However, some people in London were excited to step up to complete the murder. Can't just let an opportunity squander itself. Eminem taught us all better. A Foreign Office official called Howard Smith wrote a memo outlining a number of options. The first is the simple one of removing him from the scene by killing him. The civil servant and later the head of MI5 wrote of Lumumba, who was ousted from power but still considered a threat. It was concluded that MI6 conspired with the CIA to overthrow, even assassinate Patrice Lumumba, Congo's first democratically elected prime minister. Another president who met his untimely demise was Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi, a man who was always dressed like he was cosplaying a decorated army general or he was ready for a Persian party. Thanks to the 2016 publication of Hillary Clinton's emails, the reason behind NATO's entry into Libya was revealed. One of the key reasons for NATO's invasion was to prevent the creation of an independent hard currency in Africa that would free the continent of its economic bondage under the dollar, the IMF, and the French African franc. If you watched the previous episode, you know no one wants to give up the economic power over anyone. It's like the last slice of anything. You can call dibs all you want, but whoever's faster and stronger wins. That hard currency would have allowed Africa to shake off its last heavy chains of colonial exploitation. Africa really had a Martin Luther King Jr. moment for economic freedom. The brief visit of then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to Libya in October 2011 was referred to by the media as a victory lap. That's what you call a win over people who will need handouts and drown in the Mediterranean for years to come. Before 2011, Libya had achieved economic independence, its own water, its own food, its own oil, money, its own state-owned bank. I know some of you are doubting that for an African country, but they had done it mostly under Gaddafi, and Libya became Africa's richest country. He was a problematic individual, but he knew how to get things done. Problematic but getting things done is also the full title of many presidents. During his presidency, education and medical treatment were free, and having a home was considered a human right. American leaders were probably jealous that they couldn't pull this off in their first world in the first place. Libyans participated in the original system of democracy. The country boasted of the world's largest irrigation system called the Great Man-Made River Project, which brought water from the desert to the cities and coastal areas. And Gaddafi was embarking on a program to spread this model throughout Africa. I'm not one to fully trust any politician, but someone seeking to improve the quality of lives of citizens would have won over a hater like me. But that was before US NATO forces bombed the irrigation system and wreaked havoc on the country. This is a perfect plan for anyone trying to look down to bring down any nation. If people have no food or water, you're clear for takeoff into a full-on war. During President Obama's term, the situation on the ground in Libya was so bad that he asked his advisors to draw up options including a new military front in Libya. The Defense Department was reportedly standing ready with the full spectrum of military operations required. Gaddafi's assassination followed NATO's more than 1 month-long siege of Sirte, the Libyan coastal city that was Gaddafi's hometown and center of his support. 1 month is a long time to be looking for someone. Personally, I'm very good at giving up after an hour. The assault of this city of 100,000 left virtually every building smashed, with untold numbers of civilians dead and stricken by disease as they were deprived of food, water, medical care, and other basic necessities. Gaddafi was apparently traveling in a convoy of vehicles attempting to break out of the siege after the last bastion of resistance had fallen to NATO-backed rebels. Okay, this might be a mean thing to say, but why was he in a convoy? You know, you have to take a decoy car, shave your head, and have 4 stunt doubles dressed like they were going to a Persian party, and then you can probably escape. On 20th October 2011, NATO warplanes attacked the convoy, leaving a number of vehicles in flames and preventing it from moving forward. And it is at this time that armed anti-Gaddafi militias moved in for the kill. Both US and France claimed credit for the roles in the murder of Gaddafi. Of course they did. They are like a dynamic superhero duo of setting Africa back a few presidents. And remember, African nations are always fighting against imperialism. Always. Most of them just don't make to tell their stories. Thanks for watching Rearview Africa with Justine. Please subscribe, follow, share, and like this video. It's the best way to support us. And remember, Africa is always watching.